The sutra number 36 we had done. We will do some tikas there and we'll go to the verse number, sutra number 37. We are in the third chapter. We are doing dealing with the Anavopaya, and we are discussing since last couple of classes where the sadhaka reaches with his very focused spiritual work, meditation on the self. And there are 2-3 ways in which it happens. So one state is that you have that self-awareness which permeates or influences your activities in the samsara and your experience thereof. And because you are carrying that self-awareness, your involvement in the diversified external reality and the phenomenal processes do not negate your ability to stay aware. Remain self-aware. That is one stage. Okay, that is the stage where all of us are trying to strive to be there. So it's like there are a lot of students of different types which enter the university. There would be few who are doing everything, but they are steadfastly aware of their responsibility or certain higher goal which they have set for themselves. Here, similarly, the yogi is already established in his Swarupanushilana, Shilanatmika Bhava, is all the time sort of meditating on himself and his Swarupa, and therefore the reflection of this consciousness is influencing all his activities. Therefore, he remains united with that consciousness. That is one level. Sukha Sukhayor Bahiramananam. Sukha and Dukha do not affect him because he is constantly staying connected with that supreme consciousness that he represents, and he is having that self-understanding. But there is another higher level where you are cut off from the details and all the time you are observed in that self-awareness. Tad vimuktastu kevali. That also we have discussed it a long, we had a long discussion on that and different commentaries. We are not revisiting it. Tad vimuktastu kevali means you have that kaivalya bhava. And then there is a danger about which the Shastrakara makes us alert, reminds us that there is always a fear of slipping down, sliding down that higher level of consciousness. And then what happens? If you slide down, moha pratisangatastu karmatma. Now, because of any prarabdha or any purva pratibandhaka, or because of any deficiency in upasana in Vedanta, they say, so a person, there could be different students who are studying Vedanta, but one person is able to confirm his understanding that Aham Brahmasmi, or he's fully established in that. Like if you look at the life of Ramana Maharshi, he had a terrible fear one fine morning. What happens? I'm going to die. And it was a very critical moment in his life where you see what happens. You have this very intense Dehatma Bodha, and this body is going to go. So he had a huge panic attack, and then he starts analyzing, who am I? And slowly, with that beginning, kind of a panic attack, he starts finding out what happens to my life. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? And through that meditation, then he sort of goes on to firmly establish himself in the Atman. And always he asks that question. We need to question ourselves, who am I? And he is in that stage, right? He is already there. But a lot of sadhakas sometimes slide down. So in case mohena ajnanena pratisangataha tadeka ghanaha uktam cha ajnaneka ghano nityam subha subha kalankitaha. You get stained by this subha subha karma vasana. This is subha karma I should do, asubha karma I should avoid. And then you have desires. Why it happens? At the bottom of it, There is a faulty understanding. That understanding of ourselves is not our body, not our mind. All that we study in the satsangs, in the texts, when we forget that, then obviously we are deluded. And when we are deluded, we are in problem and we are anxious, we are restless. All these things come and attack us. Therefore, he's saying, Moha pratisangatastu karmatma. You again have kartritva and bhuktitva buddhi, right? That means earlier also we have dealt with it in the last sutra of the Saktopaya in the second chapter, even earlier. That vidya that you are doing, if you forget doing that meditation, then you'll slowly go back to where you started, back to square one kind of a situation. But these are very advanced sadhakas. There are a lot of people who go to play a cricket match. An average cricketer, you expose him to international cricket or to play a match against a very powerful international team, he doesn't even know what the bowling is all about. He loses his wicket. Couple of times they watched, they said, no, he's not fit for this level, he's dropped. Then we forget about him. There are many great players who score a few runs, then we forget about him. Then there is the case of a very established player who also gets out couple of times. He's not dropped. Or at least he's given a chance. You observe him. You give him a chance and wait for him to take a call. Why do you do it? Because he's a great player. One more turn, he regains his form, he's back to normal. He starts scoring at a rapid pace, and he's a different batsman again. He just comes back to his own self. Similarly, this particular person, what is the cause of his fall? Moho pratisangatastu, because he is deluded. And what is that delusion? Delusion is accepting the diversity as ultimately real, accepting the details of whatever we see in our everyday life as fundamentally real. They all appear as real, but fundamentally, what is real is that Shiva consciousness, that pure consciousness, that is the Adhisthana. It's like that film screen on which we see different films, different life experiences play out on that pure field of pure consciousness. All these experiences are playing out, so you have different characters, different heroes, different heroines, main characters, villains, all they come and go. What remains unperturbed, undisturbed is that background. That is the adhisthana, that is the foundation, substratum on which things play out. What play out and what we observe may not be fundamentally true. Even though through our sense organs, we may consider that to be very relevant, we may consider that to be real, but they're delusional. Delusional doesn't mean false, like you see a dinosaur because you have seen the picture and then you go to sleep. In the dream, you're scared that dinosaur has entered into your drawing room. No, it's not delusional in that sense. It's delusional in the sense that it's not ultimately, fundamentally real. It's not paramarthika satya. It is phenomenal reality. It is vyavaharika reality. It can be verified, but that doesn't make it fundamentally real. Therefore, what he's saying is that in the verse number 36, we have already gone through it. I'm just going to get into the elaborate commentary on it. What he's trying to say is that Bheda Tiraskare Sargantara Karmatvam. Why he is becoming a Karmatma or he has that Karta Bhukta Buddhi, it's because of that Moha Sansarga is reconnecting with his past mistakes of looking at the reality as fundamentally real. This phenomenal reality. So, what is the mother of all this? Acceptance of Bheda Buddhi is normal. Considering this is my nature and this is all real. That Bheda Buddhi is the mother of our agonies, of our problems. And removal of that Bheda Buddhi holds the key to much of what we are perturbed by. That is transcendence. We cannot change the whole universe. We cannot change people. We try to. Does it mean we'll not look at the social problems or economic problems? We should not address climate change, inequalities in society? No, no. You should do all that. At the same time, it's important for somebody to be aware of the fact that what is pure consciousness is the foundation on which these inequalities and these economic prosperities or poverties, all these are playing out. You address them in your everyday life. But your anxiety will be less prominent, less forceful, not trouble you if you remain aware of the fundamental reality. Therefore, he advises in the Sutra number 36, Bheda Tiraskare Sargantara Karmatvam. Now, this is a very powerful thing, Sargantara Karmatvam. You know, that person, he's trying to say, can actually create and uncreate, create and destroy anything. Srishti and Laya, both he can do. You know, you remember a couple of weeks back, we had a discussion and we had received some question. What is freedom in Kashmiri Saivism? Do we have any freedom? We are just advised to accept all this, and so willy-nilly, either you accept or you reject. You have no freedom. Actually, Kashmiri Saivism is perhaps one of the only schools of thought, very rare, where there's a lot of emphasis on freedom of the sadhaka. And he is given that Swatantrya. Therefore, he's saying Sargantara Karmatvam. And this is beautifully explained by different kind of commentators, and you'll get into it. But briefly, it's like this. Bheda Tiraskare Sargantara Karmatvam, because you see, let's first get through the no, let's do it like this, that we go through the basic meaning and then we will try to sort of get into the Sanskrit commentary, because we have sort of touched upon it. So you see, you have these moha sansarga, that is the cause of our problems, right? So what could be one step? Freedom from that moha, bheda tiraskare. So you'll have some kind of a freedom, that moha. And what does it mean? When you become free from moha, what happens? You are essentially practicing non-attachment. Moha is attachment. Freedom from moha is freedom from any kind of attachment. Okay? And so you become completely free if you have that way. And then, and how do you say that moho? How do you define it? How do you make sense of it? The delusional effects which are produced in our human minds through the power of Maya. क्योंकि all of it appears as real. Maya के कारण सब सच लगता है. Okay? And this delusion you are overcoming, and therefore this delusion creates attachment to the sansara. You know, there's a beautiful sentence. I do not know in which book. I think I had read it in some kind of an excerpt from one of his texts by Friedrich Nietzsche, the great philosopher. He said, looking at a flower and appreciating its beauty is not a problem. The problem is when you want to possess it. The moment you see it, your aesthetic appreciation is tainted with the will to, control it, modify it, own it up. And that's the problem. Similarly, this delusion would be no problem if it did not create any kind of deformation in the way we think about the reality and the way we want to relate to it. Somebody has a beautiful car is not a problem. The problem is immediately our mind starts cultivating, nurturing a desire, an aspiration to have that car, and that's the cause of anxiety. So you will not have, which causes attachment to worldly objects and pursuits, and then associated restlessness and other things. You would be lightening it up. You would be diluting it, right? And then the second one is bheda tiraskara. Okay, so all these dualities, X is different from Y. Y is more auspicious, it's Shubha, and X is Asubha. So I should be able to flush all X related items from my life, and I should try to expand the number of Y items in my life because these are Shubhas, auspicious things. Seeing one another is different. Fundamentally different is a problem. Fundamentally, they are not different because all of us are come out of that same pure consciousness into different forms. Fundamentally not different. Yes, apparently yes. Now, once we accept or give credence to that Bheda Buddhi, that dualistic consciousness, that imposes a great constraint or restriction on the power of our consciousness. Okay, and what is he trying to say there? When we realize that everything is unlimited, infinite, one, universal, that meditation is giving us a chance to connect with that infinite power of that consciousness, that universality of that consciousness. So when we see everything in our understanding that everything is one reality, then you're flushing out all fears and anxieties and you're returning to a state of unity. Okay. And then he's saying, through this power of realization, this power of the supreme consciousness, what also Vedanta preaches, when you see that reality everywhere, he's saying, Sargantara Karmatvam. Now look at it. There are two ways to look at it. Actually, he would have some siddhis. That is one interpretation. That great yogi will have the siddhis to create and destroy things, because he is returning to that integral, holistic consciousness from which everything is created. Because of his clear identification with that and an understanding of this, he goes to a very high level where whatever he wants happens. We have discussed that already in the Sambhavapaya when Lord Shiva is telling Parvati, whatever he wants happens. Do you know why, oh Parvati? Why? It's because he's no more a human being. He has become me. He's holding all my powers. He's just becoming same as me. And therefore, he's having the power of the supreme consciousness, my Sankalpa Shakti. Whatever I wish happens. And he's just becoming a medium. And that's one of the reasons that these Siddha people, somebody is in pain, they touch the head of that person, he gets healed. Of course, they have a lot of fraudulent people doing business and exploiting people's blind belief in their powers. But then the texts say that actually some of these powers do materialize through these self-realized people. Okay, so when we have these two things, freedom from moha and flushing out of the Bheda Buddhi, Bheda Tiraskara, then your awareness becomes same as that of Paramatma Bhava. And with that, Sargantara Karmatvam, it's intending essentially that now look at it like this. So we are sitting here, and how far is moon from here? Okay, millions of kilometers. And galaxies, millions of light years from each other. We are separated. Now, when you return to that unified consciousness, you meditate on it, think about that supreme consciousness and you identify with it, what appears frighteningly a long distance between our planet or our solar system and another solar system and another galaxy or cosmos or whatever you say, they're talking about multiverse, you will not be frightened because you know all of it is just one. The material manifestation is diverse, spread out, and has powerful element of difference and distance and diversity. But in conscious terms, it's all one. That realization of oneness, then what is physically a large set of objects in this whole cosmos, they don't frighten you. You, in fact, start concentrating on that unified consciousness, which is the basis of this whole cosmic manifestation. And that is how you return to that integral consciousness, and that becomes the basis of our spiritual power. Right? Therefore, he's saying sargantara karma tvam. Okay, and therefore you feel at ease trying to understand. Yeah, so 20 galaxies. So what? Okay, no, actually, it's millions of galaxies. You are absolutely not troubled. You are not disturbed. You are not frightened. Right? And that is what he's now is explaining. So we'll go to the commentary of Siva Sutra Vimarshani, and we will also look at the other commentaries. First one is Evam idrusasyapi karmatmanaha. He's a karmatma because he has some Veda buddhi or he has come down. Karmatmanaha yada anaragala mahesa saktipata basa unmishata sahaja swatantra yogi bhavati tada asya. How does a person who is a karmatma is able to do Bheda Tiraskara? So you can have some exogenous factor, endogenous factors. Either he returns to his sadhana, or it's quite possible that he gets Ishwara Anugraha. So suddenly a person who was struggling financially, he was having some bad debt and stuff like that. One morning, some bank calls him up and says, your paternal grandfather's cousin brother has written a will in your name. Please come and collect your millions of dollars. That is Saktipada, Anugraha Sakti of Lord Shiva. And there is no consideration. Who deserves, who doesn't deserve, how it happens, why it should not happen. You are looking at the external qualities that person displays that moment. We do not know about the depth of his spiritual powers or the resources that he has garnered over different births through sadhana. And therefore, he could be deserving. We may not understand it, but he may be deserving. And therefore, he gets that Saktipata, as a result of which what happens is Sarira Pranadi Ahanta Abhimanatmanaha. Okay? So, Sarira Prana, this particular person, okay, he is in the domain of all kinds of experiences. And then, even then, he's saying, Sakala Pralayakaladi Pramatri Chittasya Vedasya. Now, these are technical terms. Let me explain to you. One is Vijnana one is Pralaya one is Sakala. In a Vijnana what happens is that you have that Mahamaya Tattva, the experiencient. You experience that Mahamaya Tattva means you are able to connect with the pure consciousness. Okay, that is Vijnana. Below that is Pralaya it's Maya Tattva, and you are experiencing that void. And then Sakala will have all the malas, Anava mala and Maya mala, and then also you would have Karma mala. So Subha Vasana will be there, and you have some faulty understanding, and you also have Apurna Manyata, because of Anava mala, you will consider yourself as Jiva. All these weaknesses are there with you. And so at all these three levels, you have different levels of dualism affecting your consciousness. At a Vijnana Kala, you are very high level, but still you are not Paramashiva, you are still not completely united, even though you're connecting with the pure consciousness. Vijnana Kala is the top one. So Sakala Pralaya Kaladi Pramatri Chittasya, this Chitta, which is connecting with pure consciousness or with the void or with all the dualities, Chittasya, Bhedasya, Tiraskari, all these dualities, and then you are connecting with them and then have different experiences and different conclusions. When you are able to get rid of it, Stitasyapi Chidgana Swabhava Unmajanat. Then what happens is that it's like that, as I told you, that will which comes in your hands, you have a flash of divine grace or Guru's grace. Suddenly you are reminded of all your powers. Suddenly, instead of relapsing into a lower level, you are accidentally or because of your Purva Sadhana, you are reascending to a high level of consciousness. Then what happens, he's saying, Apahastane sati, then all these Veda buddhis are apasarita, they are removed, kramena, one after the other. What happens to that fellow? Mantra, mantreshwara, mantra maheshwaratmaka, so mahatmya, avapto. So there are these three high levels. One level is called, we have the 16 tattvas, so you have Shiva, Shakti. Below that you have Shada Shiva. Then you have Mantra Maheshwara or Ishwara. Then you have Suddha Vidya. These are the five top ones, going from top to down. And you see there is expansion of Veda from top to down. Okay. So when you are at the level of Shiva, there is all pure consciousness. With Shakti, you have Vimarsha. And then when you have Sadasiva, you have that consciousness, aham idam, and then idam aham in the mantra maheshwar, and below you have idam cha aham cha, both are there in Suddha Vidya, but you will go down. That aham pravrti is there, that consciousness is there, and then the consciousness gets a little fragmented as you go, because the Maya and other things will start. So he's saying when you are able to remove that duality, you become kramena. First, you will become like a mantra. That means you are becoming Suddha Vidya. Then you will become Ishwara. And then you will become Shada Shiva. Not Shiva or Shakti. You are ascending to the third level. And then what happens? So Mahatmya Avapto. Then you regain your Swatantra Shakti up to that level. Then you sing Sargandara Karmatvam Yatha Avilasitam. Jatha avilasita, whatever you wish, sargantara karmatvam, srishti and laya and everything, nirimeya nimartitvam bhavati, nirimeya nirmatritvam, nirimeya, meya, whatever you want to create, that is nirmeya. Whatever you create, the process is nirmana, and you are the nirmatra, nirmata, nirmatri. So you become a creator of all the things you want to create. Tathacha Sri Swachande. In Swachanda Tantra, it's written, Trigunena tu japtena swachanda sadrusho bhavet. Now here, Trigunena tu japtena. So there are three types of meditations which happen, is mentioning. Okay. So what are these the meditations, One is Sambhava. Japa, chanting, Katha Japahu, you have already realized. When that person reaches that highest level, whatever he say is chanting of mantra. We have already done that. Here he's saying three kinds of japa, and what are these for our technical understanding of it? One is called Sambhavopaya, the highest level, where one is meditating on the sandhi or the connection between Prakasha and Vimarsha. That is Shiva and Shakti. You're meditating on that. That is Shambhava Japa, very high level. Below that, Saktopaya. What is the Saktopaya Japa? You have meditation on Pramana and Prameya. You're meditating on what is Pramana, the process of knowing, and what is Prameya, what is being known. You're meditating on that aspect. These are all technical details. And Kashmiri Saiva Darshan is full of these technicalities. We just have to listen to them and slowly, accommodate them in our understanding. Anavopaya, the bottom one, is Prana Apana. So between Prana and Apana, you meditate on that. Okay, so Trigunena Japtena Swachanda Sadrusho Bhavet. That fellow, this is saying Swachanda Tantra is mentioning that through this meditation, this fellow regains that sovereignty. And iti swachanda sadrishyena bheda tiraskaram asya uktva. He's saying that he is able to flush out all these dualities. And he's mentioning that freedom that we were talking about. Brahma, Vishnu, Indra Devanam. Brahma, Vishnavyendra Devanam. There is Sandhi. So you have Brahma, you have Vishnu, and you have Indra Devanam. Of all these devatas, Siddha Daityo Urogesinam. Urogesi, the king of all the serpents and all the Siddhas or Daityas. And who is this yogi? Bhayadatacha Hartacha. सापानुग्रहकृत भवेत. Bhayadata cha harta cha, bhayadata cha bhayaharta cha. Imagine, this yogi is put at a pedestal superior to Brahma, Vishnu, Indras, and who else? All the Siddhas, all the Daityas, and all the Uragesinam, all the Uragesin, all the serpent gods, whatever. So you are put at a very high pedestal. Why? You are already at the level of Mantra Maheshwara, Shadashiva, just one couple of steps below Shiva and Shakti. You are a top ranking that universal consciousness. You have already reached there. So you are above all these demigods. And what do you do? With your wish, you can be with anugraha, you can be bhayaharta. Somebody is in pain. The baby is not in a happy state. He is depressed, examination, whatever. The mom comes and gives them confidence. Nothing. I know you will do well, study well. Bhayahartacha through anugraha. And then a bhayadata through shapa. They can curse somebody. This is something wrong you're doing and you're going to pay a heavy price. Mother tells, the son is scared. So bhayadatacha hartacha means bhayadatacha bhayahartacha. How? Sapanugraha krid bhavet. He can do shapa, he can do cursing. Means he can express his anger when something wrong is happening, or he can rescue you from kind of a disturbing situation. Darpa harati kalasya. Kala is death. This yogi becomes so powerful, Bheda Tiraskare, because he is flushing out all these dualities, because of Ishwara Anugraha, returns back to that state of powerful self-awareness. Darapa harati kalasya. He can even frighten death. Death be not proud, like John Donne wrote. He is not scared of death. He can even put death at bay, saying, wait, this particular student, you can't disturb him. Patayet bhudharanapi. These are all arthavadas, stutimulaka, vakyas. Why are they given? Just to give us motivation to practice this sadhana. Bhudharan, all the mountains, he can crush them at wish. Will you physically be able to do it? We cannot rule it out. But the importance to me of this sentence is not to fancy these powers, but in fact to realize that a return to that unified consciousness elevates a sense of freedom and power. So it's not a kind of enslavement, is in fact one way of empowering oneself. Okay. Now let's look at the last commentary. The Acharya Krishnananda Sagara. He's saying, Ittham karmatmanaha yoginaha, that karmatma yogi, nirvada mahesana sakti padadi eva. And nirvada, there is no more obstruction. And he gives that, Aishwarya sakti pata. Sahaja swatantriya, swatantrakhya jnana yoga pradurbhavati iti nirdisati. So that jnana yoga immediately starts in him. He returns to that level of meditation on the self. Bheda tiraskare sarvantara karmatvam. Yadyapi deha pranadi tadatmya mithya prakalpita adhyasena yaha ahantarupa bheda yogini sanjayate. Because of a purva papa or whatever, despite all jnana, he looks at the mirror and there is a mark and he is scared. This is a sore, this is cancer, this is a disease, all kinds of things. Okay? It might happen. So, Bheda yogina sanjayate, there is some Bheda buddhi in that yogi, tathapi, even then, tasya Bhedasya nibritistu, when that Bheda buddhi is nibrita, can be removed. How? Chidananda swatma shwarupa unmishada bhavati. And suddenly self-awareness comes. Oh, what are you scared of? You're not the body. Who's going to die? What cancer are you talking about? That fellow elevates himself. Epam cha sa prabruddha yogi mantra maheshwara mantra mantreshwara mantra maheshwaratmana arthat. He becomes mantra and a mantreshwara mantra maheshwaratmana arthat. What is Suddha Vidya Ishwara Sadashiva Rupena Krameshaha Prapnoti. So he elevates himself to these high levels of being what? Number one is mantra, equivalent is Suddha Vidya. Mantreshwara equivalence is Ishvara Tattva. Mantra Maheshwara equivalent is that Sadasiva Tattva. Kramasa Prapnoti Asmadeva. And from this, he's saying, Swa Mahatmya Jnana Prakasat. Because of the Swa, his specialization, his self awareness, his power, his sovereignty, it appears, it manifests. Amusmin parayogini, in this particular advanced yogi, sarkantara karmatvam yatha avilasita. Whatever he wants, he can create. It happens. Vastu nirmatritvam ayati. He can create and non-create things. Ayam eva anargala maheshwara sakti pata rupa. And how does it happen? He does a lot of sadhana? No. He has done a lot of sadhana in the past. He became karmatma because of some, some sort of prarabdha, some kind of purva papa or whatever. Maybe there was some kind of a curse and somebody was angry. Great sadhakas have been cursed by even greater sadhakas or some innocent people, parents, teachers. They suffer some delusional pain, no real pain. They suffer some delusional pain for a while and then return to that purity. It's like a setback in your spiritual life. Then what happens is saying, Ayam eva anargala maheshwara sakti pata rupa sahaja swatantra yoga asti. So because of God's grace, they regain that autonomy. That is how we have completed this particular verse. Bhedati raskare sargantara karmatvam. But as we were discussing a while ago, the mother of this power that he's talking about is essentially because of, dealing a death blow to two things. One is moha, the other one is bheda buddhi. By destroying moha, you strengthen your non-attachment. You are not attached to anything. And by flushing out bheda buddhi, you are free from terrible attachment to self-debilitating interests, anxieties, affiliations, whatever. So these two, moha and abheda. Remember, these two are actually two sides of the same coin. If you can push them away, you regain yourself. That is what is the purpose of this particular sutra. Then what happens to him? He's talking about the phala, the consequence of regaining that power in the verse now, sutra number 37. Karna saktihi swatonubhavat. That karna sakti, this power to create, sargantara karmatum that you mentioned about, he's saying, no, it's evident, it's self-evident. That is that freedom that we are talking about. In the Ishvara Prativigya Hridayam, and the Karikas and Vimarshini and so many commentaries are there. Just before I get into this, there is a lot of philosophical discussion. The Vedantis and the Buddhists say that even when we dream, whatever we dream is not something which is original to us. We are basically making use of our past experiences in reality, and we are mixing them with the purva vasanas or sanskaras, and therefore you might see Ma Durga in a dream, or you might see a dinosaur, but where from these images are coming? These images, whatever you see in the dream, is a kind of mixture of your past impressions and your past desires. It's a kind of a frightening or auspicious mixture. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel bad. The Kashmiri Saiva Darshan, that freedom issue is saying, these basic facts remain the same. Now, you have 26 alphabets in English, but with these 26 alphabets, you can create literature, you can create prose. There is originality. So he's saying imagination is not conditioned, even though it appears as so, but in dream, actually, we are independent. Because all of us do not see the same dream, and we may not appear to be in control of it, but we are creators. Now, if we extend it a little, the power of your meditation is going to be the mother of your spiritual freedom, and that sankalpa, and that return. And when we realize the power of that unified consciousness, you become swatantra, because end of the day, remember, unlike Advaita Vedanta, where truth is perfect, you just have to realize it. Here it is Swatantriyavada. Everything is not fixed. Everything is free and autonomous. Lord Shiva is Swatantra, is sovereign. And by doing sadhana, you are trying to approximate, you are trying to imitate, you are trying to reflect that pure, divine, universal sovereignty of the supreme consciousness, Shiva consciousness. Okay. Therefore, this is very interesting. Karana Sakti Swato Anubhavad. He's saying the proof is that you look at anybody, starting with a human being to an insect, they all exercise this freedom, that Karana Sakti. They exercise this freedom of Jnana Sakti and Kriya Sakti. Let's look at the commentary. Brahma, Vishnu, Indra Devanam, Siddha Daityo, Uragesinam, Bhayadata, Hartacha, Sapanagraha Kritu Bhavet. We have already done it. Nacha etadasya asambhavyam. This is not impossible. This particular power you're saying Veda Tiraskara Sargantar Karmatum is not impossible. Why is not impossible? He can do it. Now he's answering the commentary. First you are looking at Kshemaraja's Vimarshani. Nacha etadasya asambhavyam yataha. Why? Swataha swasmad eva anubhavat sankalapa swapnadu. He said, I'll give you the proof. Do you know when a person is in a state of dream, he creates realities of his own? Nobody can control him. He may be a poor person, but he may fancy and he can create a whole world in which he's experiencing riches and prosperity. He may have the most beautiful children and maybe an emperor. He is dreaming. He's a creator of his own dreams. He's saying Swana Bhavat Sankalapa Swapnada when he's doing Sankalapa Manorajya, when he's fantasizing, or he's dreaming. He's a master of that universe. Karna Sakti Tattad Asadharanartha Nirmatitvam Atmana Siddham Eva. So a person can create. Now, this is the freedom that is being emphasized here. In the Kashmiri Saiva Darshan, they are saying there is evidence that you are autonomous, you are free. What are the two examples they're saying? You're able to fantasize and you're able to dream. And there is complete freedom that you exercise when you're doing it. Now, that you do not create something fundamentally real is less relevant. Put that aside. Why can't we focus on the fact that you're supremely independent? You're sovereign. When you are fantasizing about something or you are dreaming something, you are not under any kind of constraints. Of course, you will have the Freudian psychologists come and say, no, he has no freedom. It's all limited by his id, libido, whatever. Or there'll be somebody, the Vedanti or the Buddhist will come, no, these are Purva Sanskaras, and then whatever he has experienced during Jagrata Avastha, there's a cocktail of his Sanskaras, Vasanas, and whatever impressions he has. But they are saying, no, he in fact creates. Sanskaras are there, but dreams are different. How can you say that he's not creating? Who are you to say this? It's not very logical. He is in fact a creator, and you accept that. Therefore, he swataha swasmad eva anubhavad sankalapa swapnadau karana saktihi tattad asadharanartha nirmatritvam atmana siddhameva. Therefore, you have to accept that you are actually in fact a sovereign creator. Anena eva, and by dint of this particular logic asayena, see prativijnayam. In prativijna hridaya, it's mentioned ata eva yathavishta samullekha avabhasanat. Ata eva, therefore, yathavishta, the way you wish, samullekha avabhasanat. Samullekhana refers to the kriya sakti. Whatever you want to realize it. Avabhasana is jnana sakti. You have a thought construct, you have an analysis, you have a conclusion. Sometimes you materialize it. So both. Jnana kriye spute eva. So you have jnana sakti and kriya sakti spute eva siddhe sarvasya jivitaha. Janati ichhati yatate karoti. He knows, then he wants. He has sankalpa. Yatate, he does persevere. He makes efforts. Karoti, and he accomplishes it. He tries to do it. And he's saying this is not limited to yogis or human beings. This is not unique to one category of sadhaka, it's common to all of us, starting with insects to the most powerful human being, most intelligent human being. Everybody has jnana sakti and kriya sakti. You cannot deny somebody that jnana sakti and kriya sakti. And that is the basis of our freedom. The beauty of it is, they are not saying, look, you are in the jail, so relax, you have no alternative. They are saying, no, no, you are actually free. Why don't you exercise your freedom? There is a twist in the language in that sense. He's saying, so, iti uktam tatha संभवात यदि च एतत् गाढ़ अविनिवेशेन विमृशति तदा सर्वसाधारण अभिष्टार्थ निर्मातृता अपि भवति. गाढ़ अविनिवेशेन, there is a discussion about it. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. There was a discussion in Vedanta. There is a group of people, they say that in fact meditation, strong prasankhana or dhyana will help you have Atma-jnana. One school of Vedanta. Then there is another school of Vedanta, Vachaspati Mishra, the Bhamati Mata, they said you have to have nididhyasana. So with jnana prasada, you have real understanding, then you do dhyana. Only closing eyes, sitting, you won't get God. But you have to have a clear understanding, then you do vichara and manana. Right? Therefore, he's saying, lo shruti vakya manasa eva anudrashtavyam. That you do. And then there is another Shruti Vakya, Upanishad. Manasana manute, with mind you can't get it. Yato vacha nivartante aprapya manasasaha, where the words go and rebound. Even with mind, they cannot get that Atma. So he's saying, when we are saying manasasaha, it returns, or he's saying that you cannot get Atma Jnana with the help of mind. He's talking about impure mind. Manasana manute, you can't get it through mind, it's through impure mind. But with pure vicharashila manana, you can get it. That is one interpretation. Right? So this mana is a karana, is a medium to reach that Atma-jnana. That is what they powerfully also in Vedanta, some people do mention about it. But some people say no, with mind you can't get it. Which Mahavakya, the Upanishad Vakya, in fact creates, is the means. You just have to meditate on it, that's fine. But through meditation alone, you are not going anywhere. The foundation of your meditation is in fact this Vedanta Vakya. Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. So there is a long discussion. Okay. So what he's trying to say is, Sarva avishtartha nimratvata api bhavati sadharana. Sarva sadharana avishtartha, whatever is avishta, whatever you are aspiring for. Nirmatrita, you become a creator. Nirmata. Okay? Api bhavati taduktam tattvagarbhe. There is another text called tattvagarbha. Yadatu tepi suvyakta swasamarthya gunojjwalaha bhavet दृष्टता दूरदारिता दाढ़्यादीनता तदाच तेषां संकल्पः कल्पपादपतां रजेत. As I was mentioning, if a person is actually deluded, he is a kamatura vyakti, obsessed with that Billo Mangala story. There was this beautiful girl called Netramani, and he became mad after that girl. Netramani, Netramani, Netramani. And then there was flooding Yamuna, and he crossed the Yamuna, which was in Spade. And because he wanted to reach, and they crossed over and went there and said, oh, really? You came to me? You crossed Yamuna? You didn't die? No, I want to meet you. He said, the courage you have, the kind of depth you have, and the kind of resolution you have, if you had used it, 1 ounce of this resolution, the struggle that you have to undergo to reach me, to get Lord Krishna, you will get him in 2 minutes. He said, really? And the Bilbo Mangala becomes one of the self-realized souls. But what is the beginning of it? A strong delusion, and he's meditating on Netramani, he's seeing her everywhere, and he's not being able to see Yamuna River. And the flooding Yamuna River, he cannot see it. So what is the point here is that with this Dhrida Sankalpa Sakti, you can actually create anything. Okay, you can, anything that happens. That is what he's trying to explain. So, so everything kind of happens and it is kind of accepted. So when this yogi is oriented and towards the srishti and lawyer, whatever, with a very strong will, he can create anything, even common to all people. That means he can create a river or a mountain. That is what the text says literally, but I would say it's Arthavada. The purpose is not to create curiosity in our minds about occult powers. In fact, the purpose of these advices to my mind is, in fact, to motivate us to realize the power of meditating on that universal consciousness. Okay? And therefore, he's saying that he sort of reaches that highest level, and with that farm creativity, that resolution, that meditation, he can create anything. He becomes like a Kalpataru. You know, you have this Kalpataru Puja on the 1st of January in Ramakrishna Mission. What happened was that Ramakrishna, just a few months before he left his body, on one afternoon, there were a lot of people that were sitting below the banyan tree and he was meditating, and he said, "Today, whatever you ask, I'm going to grant this to you." And they all meditated, thinking about some issue to be resolved. And later on, they had a tremendous deep meditation. And whatever they had wished that particular afternoon, all came true. And therefore, that is kind of sort of observed as Kalpataru Divasha in the Ramakrishna order. Now, this yogi becomes a Kalpataru. Ramakrishna was, Thakur was, Kalpataru, whatever he wanted. That happened. Whatever he advised anyone. So this particular person gets that highest level of realization. Now let's look at the last commentary. Samprati asya yogi janasya krite nirmaya nirmatitvam api asambhavam nasti. There is nothing impossible. Whatever he wants, he can create. Darshayati karanasakti swatonubhavat. Because it becomes self-evident in his own experience. Swataha swasmad sahaja anubhava prakashavalat. He doesn't make any efforts. Sahaja anubhava prakashavalat. Spontaneously, he is able to experience that power that he has. Sopna sankalpanadishu. What is the example? During dream and during Manorajya, he creates sansaras. Similarly, Vishwa Vaichitya Nirmana Samarthyatmika Karana Sakti Tat Kartutva Unmeshaha. So, this whole, the ability to create this sansara, you are creating it subjectively in the dream and also during the state of fantasizing or fancying anything. So, you realize it. Swasambiti eva siddhir bhavati, in his own consciousness that fructifies it is realized. Yadahu prativijnayam acharya utpalapada. So Utpalapada mentions in the Prativijna Hridayam, Ata eva yathavishta samullekha vabhasanat jnana kriyesputi eva siddhe sarvasya jivitaha. That is what we have already dealt with. Samullekha is Kriya Shakti, Abhavasana is Jnana Shakti. Yadidam yatha avimatasya bahir satvat. Okay, bahir satvat ananubhutasyapi samyag rupena ullekhanam. You know, he can actually create. You have that Kriya Sakti and Jnana Sakti, both he's mentioning. Avabhasanam cha vikalapasya prasangat nirtishtam. Ata eva brahmadi kitantasya. Look at the commentary. Starting with Brahmaji till a small insect. All of them have that sovereign power. Jivana kriya vishtasya pranina. Anybody who is alive, everybody has that Jnana Sakti and Kriya Sakti. Avabhasana rupa Jnana Sakti. He has that Jnana Sakti. And Ullekhana rupa Kriya Sakti. Kriya Sakti and Jnana Sakti all of us have. Swabhaviki vartate. Swabhavika. That is the most powerful thing. This is nothing which you try to achieve through efforts. Jnana Sakti, Kriya Sakti is there in an insect, in a human being, in a bird, in an animal, everywhere. Tata eva tasyam prakalpita pramatri bhumikayam api. When you have that pramatritva, the knower self, bhinneshwara upakalpita prachya srushtim उपजीवन संभावनापि नास्ति अनेन प्रकारेण स्वयमेव ज्ञान क्रिया रूप एक ऐश्वर्यस्य एव स्फुटं प्रत्यभिज्ञेयं जानाति च करोति च तथा च उक्तं स्पन्दकारिकायां. So, you know, when you realize this, actually, that Ishvara Prativijna, how do you recognize this power in you? This is the beginning of recognition of our purity, of our divinity. And then there is this return journey to that unified consciousness. And the next sutra, we'll take it up tomorrow and we'll expand on this. I'll stop here. And if you have any questions, or we can do the Santi mantras, but we'll take it forward tomorrow. Any questions? Any of you?
As you rightly said, Swamiji, I have a question. You said about to get that final empowerment, we need to get rid of Bheda Bhava and
Moha.
the
Moha.
what you call Moha. Yes, right. But at certain point of this journey, do we need Anugraha?
Yes, of
Anugraha
course.
of super, yeah,
Of course.
obviously. Without, yes, without, I believe this is not just possible, as I
No,
understand.
an anugraha, and therefore there is a heavy emphasis on upasana. Unlike, but the beauty of this school is that it's not only jnana yoga like in Advaita Vedanta, and it's not only meditation like in Raja Yoga, or only bhakti as in the bhakti literature, or karma yoga as in Bhagavad Gita. This is kind of putting everything together and saying that mainly Jnanatmika, you have to have upasana, but engagement with the world, not rejection. As some commentators say, Advaita Vedanta says neti neti, not this, net this, and it's exclusionary. You're just trying to talk about that pure consciousness. But if you look at Sri Aurobindo, to me, he is very close to this Kashmiri Saivism. So they have actually asti asti. No, everywhere, everything is divine. What are you scared of? So you are not rejecting anything. What you are rejecting is the delusional aspect of it. What you are rejecting is the what is not divine. So you are everywhere. You can't do everything. That's not a problem, provided that we have that connected with the divine self, and then through Upasana, and then Anugraha comes, and it comes like a shower out of the blue, and it comes and transforms our lives. And with that bhakti and with that commitment, we have to be on our path.
So there's some mystical power is required at
Not required, it happens. You just
it
have to have
happens. Yes,
faith and
yes,
move. All of us have to have faith and move, and
yes,
then
yes,
that
yes.
comes,
Yes.
yeah. And then transformation happens in a magical way.
Okay,
Okay, so
okay.
if so we'll resume it tomorrow. So let's do this Anti Mantra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. So we'll stop here and then we'll meet again tomorrow.